After what feels like a lengthy time off, the Dallas Stars are back in action tonight. They round out their 3-game road trip in Winnipeg for a matchup with the Jets, with heavy implications on the line. The winner of this game claiming the first seed in the Central Division for their own. Tons to talk about on today's episode. We'll take a look at the Jets and talk about how they've been successful through the early stages of this season, talk about the biggest name on the Stars roster right now, and talk about what the Dallas Stars need to do to leave Manitoba with a win. All of that and more coming up on today's episode of Locked On Stars.
You're Locked On Stars, your daily podcast on the Dallas Stars. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Howdy, Stars fans. Welcome back to the Locked On Stars podcast, the only daily podcast covering the Dallas Stars, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Dane Lewis, your local expert on all things Dallas Stars hockey, credentialed member of the Dallas Stars media, coming to you on this Tuesday, November 8th. And whether this is your first time here or you are a recurring listener of the show, thank you for stopping by and for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. You can find and follow us on your favorite podcasting platform, on social media at Locked On Stars, and my personal Twitter account at Dane_Lewis. And you can also subscribe to the show on YouTube, where we just crossed over 1,000 subscribers, which is incredible. The goal was to try to get there by the end of 2022, and you guys went out and got it done before Thanksgiving. Thank you guys so much. I know I posted a thank you video already on YouTube. So if you haven't seen that, basically the summary is me saying thank you a ton. Truly could not do this without you guys' support and listening. So thank you guys for the support, the feedback in the comments, interacting with the show. Love always hearing you guys' thoughts and insights on this team. And this has been a dream come true to host this podcast, talk about this team, and now we have a really cool number of subscribers to show for it, but that number can always continue to grow. So if you're new to the show and want to hop on the Locked On Stars bandwagon, please do feel free to do so. Hitting the subscribe button on YouTube goes a long way. Now, with that out of the way, we can jump into the meat and potatoes of today's episode, and the Dallas Stars are back in action. Just feels like it's been a little bit since they've played, even though in all reality, it was not that long ago. On Saturday, the Stars defeat the Jets and now, or the Oilers, and now they go on to Winnipeg tonight to take on the Jets, the team that they're actually playing. And this Winnipeg Jets team is one of the most perplexing teams in the National Hockey League right now, because they're currently 7-3-1, which is the second best record in the Central Division, only behind the Dallas Stars. The Stars have 2 more points than the Jets do, with an 8-3-1 record. Yet, if you look at this Jets team, they're not really doing a ton to write home about on the offensive side of the ice. I went to look at some of their offensive numbers on the NHL's website, on the stats page, and was shocked to find them at the bottom of the page. I kept scrolling and thought, am I reading this wrong? Am I on the wrong page? And lo and behold, the Winnipeg Jets are 27th in the National Hockey League in goals for with 33. Just to put it in perspective, Dallas ranks at 5th with 46. Not too huge of a difference, but at the same time, you wouldn't necessarily expect a team that is well over 500, second in their division, to be in the bottom percent of goals for in the league. That's not normally a recipe for success. The Stars were awful at scoring goals this time last year, and their record definitely showed it. They were a team that just did not look good for the majority of the first half of the year, and they found themselves near the middle of the pack. And that is not the case with this Winnipeg Jets team. And the huge reason for that, and the huge reason for their success, lies in their ability to keep the puck out of the back of the net. While they are only 27th in the league in goals for, if you look at goals against and you go from least amount of goals allowed to, that being the top to the most allowed at the bottom, they're tied for first in the league in goals against at 27, and they're actually tied with the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars. Those 3 teams, the best at playing defense. You got to give props to their goaltending and the defensemen on their team as well. And especially the goaltending part has to be true for this Jets team. A huge reason for their success lies in their Vezina Trophy winning goalie Connor Hellebuyck, who is 6-2-1 to start the year with a 2.09 goals against average and a .936 save percentage. In their most recent outing, the Jets also have not played since Saturday. They played the Chicago Blackhawks. Connor Hellebuyck recorded a shutout in that game, played maybe his best game of the season, and he has done really well so far to start out this 22-23 campaign. And while this Jets offense might not be much of a headline around the league, no one is saying, oh my goodness, look at this Winnipeg Jets offense. They still find ways to win games and they still find ways to take care of business. And if you look at who the head coach is, that's not entirely too shocking. I know, big surprise. A team coached by Rick Bowness is not scoring a ton of goals and they're playing really good defense. But it's weird because that's kind of what the Stars did last season, yet at this point in the year, the Stars looked like one of the lesser teams in the league, and this Jets team is the opposite, and it's a huge credit to Connor Hellebuyck being just a consistency for them over the past several seasons, but especially this year, in a time where a lot of the personnel is still the same. They still have Mark Scheifele, they still have Blake Wheeler, Kyle Connor, Pierre-Luc Dubois, Morrissey, Brendan Dillon. I mean, the list goes on and on. A lot of these guys have been in Winnipeg for quite some time, but it just feels like there's been a lot of change with Rick Bowness coming in. It seems like there's kind of been a readjustment in the culture of the team, and I think that that's benefiting them greatly. And even though they're not an explosive team offensively, they're still finding ways to be effective and still finding ways to win hockey games. And a lot of that is even accredited on the special teams. If you look at the power play, it's about middle of the pack, sitting at 17th at 20.5%. Just to put that in perspective, Dallas is in fourth place in the NHL in power play percentage at 29.3%. And the penalty kill is where Winnipeg shines. Similar to Dallas, the Jets' penalty kill is sixth in the National Hockey League at 82.8%, right behind the Dallas Stars, who are in fifth at 84.6%. So both of these teams excellent at killing penalties, but the Stars much better on the power play, as they, like I said, are fourth place in the league, and especially as of late, have really started to catch fire on the man advantage. So if this game becomes a special teams battle, I think you have to give the advantage to the Stars, but at the same time, maybe this Jets team can find a way to stifle this Stars power play, but maybe the same can be said on the Jets side, but I think the Stars penalty kill could handle themselves pretty well against a middling power play unit for this Winnipeg Jets squad. And they're not very explosive offensively, but this is a team that can catch hot streaks at the right time, and they seem to put up a lot of goals against teams that you would expect them to, similar to what the Stars did to the Los Angeles Kings. The Jets played the Kings earlier this season, and I believe that they scored their season team high in goals. They scored 6 that game, but we know the Kings are not one of the good defensive teams in the league this season. Their goaltending is very shaky, very inconsistent, and so they'll put up big-time goals and put up some big offensive numbers against some really bad defensive teams, but they haven't necessarily done as well against the good defensive teams and the teams with really solid goaltending, which is something that the Dallas Stars have. So this just makes it a very interesting matchup. You also take into account that they're playing in Winnipeg, and you just have to imagine that this team is going to want to play hard and physical, and they're going to want to go out and get a win for their head coach, as he is playing his former team for the first time this season. Rick Bowness not able to travel with the Jets to Dallas to start the first week of the season, as he was isolating due to COVID. And now this is kind of the first time that he is taking on his new team, and the first time that the Stars are seeing Rick Bowness since his departure from Dallas in the summer. So a lot of storylines going into this game. We've kind of covered everything you need to know about this Jets team, mentioned a lot of the names. Connor Hellebuyck, the big one, but they also do have some guys, although they aren't explosive offensively as a team. You got to keep guys like Kyle Connor and Mark Scheifele and Pierre-Luc Dubois in check, because they can burn you and make you pay if you give them too much open space or give them too many opportunities to shoot the puck. Well, we're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we will shift our attention to the Dallas Stars and talk about one star in particular who is shining brighter than the others. We'll talk about Jason Robertson, the NHL's first star of the week, right after this. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by our friends at BetOnline. BetOnline.net is your number one source for sports betting information, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From football to basketball to soccer and esports, we've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action happening around the sports world. BetOnline.net is where the game starts. All right, the next thing I want to talk about on today's episode is that, of course, the Dallas Stars coming into this game and the biggest storyline surrounding this team. But first, thank you again for making Locked On Stars your first listen of the day. Be sure to follow on your favorite podcasting platform and subscribe on YouTube. Jason Robertson, ladies and gentlemen, has been on a tear recently, just putting the NHL on notice really ever since his emergence 2 seasons ago as a Calder finalist. Plays out of his mind last season, scores 40 goals. Then there were big questions this offseason. Is he going to re-sign in Dallas? When is he going to re-sign in Dallas? Will he make it in time to play with this team this season? And he ended up making it back to play with this team. And even though he did not really participate in training camp or in the preseason, he has not skipped a beat from where he finished last season. And he is the biggest storyline going into this game. The biggest question going into this game is, can anyone stop him? Can anyone slow down Jason Robertson? As I mentioned right before we went to break, he was named the NHL's first star of the week. Absolutely incredible. He is the second star to be in the top 3 players of the week. Jake Ottinger, of course, listed on that list as the third star the first week of the season. And now Jason Robertson is the first star of the week after a week in 3 games where he scored 4 goals, tallied 4 assists, giving him 8 points in total. And he is also currently on a 5-game goal streak, which I believe is tied for a career high. So he will be looking to set a new career high in a game goal scoring streak tonight in Winnipeg against the Jets, which, if you look at what he's done historically against this Jets team, seems very, very likely. Many of you will remember the last time the Stars and Jets played in Winnipeg. That game ended with Jason Robertson scoring a hat trick and, of course, scoring the game winner in overtime after one of the longest 3-on-3 shifts in forever. He was absolutely gassed, but he gets the puck on a breakaway, beats Connor Hellebuck, and then collapses to the ice as his teammates swarm him in celebration after one of, if not actually his best game of the season, although he did follow it up, the next day or 2 days later in Minnesota against the Wild with another hat trick, but I digress. Jason Robertson has owned the Winnipeg Jets really ever since coming into the league. He has 5 goals, an assist in 5 games played against Winnipeg. He has more points against this team than games played against them. He has, of course, scored another game winner against them at home last season. He just absolutely owns this team. I mean, I feel like there's a handful of teams that every NHL player just seems to play extra well against, and this is that team for Jason Robertson early on in his career. I don't know what it is, but seeing that navy blue mixed with that bright blue and that small hint of red and white just really gets Jason Robertson going, and he just plays like a man possessed. He's just incredibly fun to watch every single night, but especially when he's playing the Jets, he just seems to take his game to a whole other level. And just in general, Jason Robertson has been fantastic to start the year, and I feel like it's a story that has maybe flown under the radar just with how well the Stars have been doing as a team. And then if you look at some of the other individuals who are scoring a ton of points this season, they're guys that are more accustomed to getting the spotlight, whether that's Connor McDavid, whether it's David Pastrnak, who's in a more hockey-friendly market in Boston. But Jason Robertson is currently 7th in the NHL in points at 18. And if he's not scoring goals, then he's finding other ways to get involved by racking up assists. He always finds himself involved on scoring plays that involve Joe Pavelski or Roope Hintz. And he, of course, is also a member of that top power play unit that includes that top line, Jamie Benn and Miro Heiskanen. And it seems like if the Stars are scoring a goal, there's a good chance that Jason Robertson is either scoring it or he was heavily involved in the process of getting the puck from someone's stick to the back of the net. And it's just so fun to watch him do this, especially after spending an entire summer and an entire training camp wondering if he would even be on this team and what his role would look like and how soon he would be able to get into playing shape and would he be able to produce at a high level early in this season. And he has put all of those doubts, questions, and speculations to bed. He has come in and set the league on fire and continued to prove to be one of the best young goal scorers in the league. And somehow he just still feels incredibly underrated, even though I feel like at this point, just about everybody who watches the NHL knows who he is because he is just such an impact player. And it's not even just Jason Robertson as of right now. You look at this entire team, and this Stars offense has been difficult for people to stop as of late. You have Jamie Benn, who's starting to catch fire. He also is historically good against the Jets. He has 18 goals and 22 assists, 40 points in 39 games played in his career against Winnipeg. And you have, of course, the other ensemble of characters, Rope Hintz, Joe Pavelski, Mason Marchment, Tyler Seguin, Miro Heiskanen, Wyatt Johnston. I mean, this team is just so deep. And we keep touching on it. We keep harping on it that this team is different because of the depth scoring that they're getting every single night. And I think that gives them an advantage in this matchup, because as good as some of these Winnipeg players are, I just don't think this overall roster is as deep as Dallas. I think that they have the physicality and some of the other non-tangibles to help them compete against the Stars. But when it comes to goal scoring, I just don't know if this Jets team can keep pace with this Dallas team, at least if they play, multiple times in the season. More often than not, I think you're going to see the Stars have the advantage in the scoring opportunities. But with that said, the Jets do have good goaltending and they do have a good defense. So it's going to be a very fun battle to see an explosive Stars offense that's top 5 in the league against a Jets defense that, like the Stars, is a top 1 or 2 in the league. It's going to make for an incredibly interesting matchup, again, in Winnipeg's building, with Rick Bowness there wanting his guys to play hard, and I imagine those guys buying into that and wanting to play hard for their coach against his former team. We're going to take one more quick break, but when we come back, we will continue to talk about this matchup, talk about what the Stars need to do to win. Today's episode of Locked On Stars is brought to you by our friends at SimpliSafe. Did you know that over the holidays, property crimes like burglaries and package thefts spike nationally? That's why our friends at SimpliSafe Home Security are offering 50% off their award-winning security system so that more families can feel safe and secure this holiday season. Order your SimpliSafe system for half off today and enjoy advanced security and greater peace of mind this holiday season. SimpliSafe is whole home security with advanced sensors for every room, window, and door. They have HD security cameras for inside and outside your home and smarter ways to detect motion that alert you when the threat is real, and even senses hazards like fires, floods, and other threats to your home. Don't miss your chance to save big on the only security system that I would recommend. Get 50% off your new SimpliSafe system at simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. This is their biggest discount of the year, so don't wait. That's simplisafe.com/lockedonnhl. There's no safe like SimpliSafe. All right, let's close out this episode of Locked On Stars, a game day episode. This is one of the games that I've been more excited for recently. The Stars and the Jets fighting for a top spot in the Central Division, and Rick Bowness finally making his first appearance of the season, where he is matching up against his former team in the Dallas Stars, as many of you know. And remember, he was not able to make the trip down to Dallas on October 17th when these teams met up due to COVID. But now he is going to be present at this game. It won't be at the American Airlines Center, so not still his homecoming. That will be coming on Black Friday later this month, but still probably going to be, a game that has this storyline surrounding it. Rick Bowness and his old team matching up truly for the first time this season, with both parties being present. And at the end of the day, you can talk about Jason Robertson and the Stars offense all you want. I think they are going to produce, but a huge key to this game, and the determining factor of whether or not I think the Stars will win is, of course, the performance of what I imagine, or who I imagine will be Scott Wedgewood. And the question is, can the Stars get one more great performance from Scott Wedgewood? The belief is that Jake Ottinger should hopefully be healthy and good to come back this coming Friday when the Stars return home to play the Sharks. And it's my guess, recording this around 10:45 on Monday evening, that Scott Wedgewood is going to get the start in Winnipeg against the Jets, and the Stars need at least one more quality start from him to close out this road trip in order to support what is hopefully a good, strong offensive showing from the rest of this team. And I truly do believe that Scott Wedgewood can step up and fill this role one more time and be a great starter for this team. He has been great for the Stars since stepping into the starting role back when Jake Ottinger got injured. And I think that this Jets team, especially offensively, is going to be in theory, an easier team to contain than that of the Edmonton Oilers, and he held up very well against that team, although there are still some threats on this Jets roster. I think overall, as far as the depth, there are some lines and some defensive pairings out there that maybe aren't as threatening as some groups and pairings that you would see on teams like Edmonton or even like Los Angeles. I'm not going to say that this is the easiest game Wedgewood's had to play since stepping in, because I think the Arizona Coyotes take that one by quite a big margin, but I do think as far as offensive production and offensive threats go, this might be one of the easier games. Not saying it's a cakewalk and not saying it's a given win, but I think that Scott Wedgewood, coming off some good rest from not having played since Saturday and playing against a team that is not very good offensively, I think this is a great position for him to come out and give at least one more great performance before hopefully we see the return of number 29 in the crease for the Stars. And besides that, that's a big storyline. And the other big storyline, of course, Rick Bowness. There's going to be a lot of emotions in this game. I imagine it's always emotional and physical when these teams get together. It's, fights, hits along the board, penalties being racked up. But the Stars need to try their best to be above that and keep their composure and play a clean game. They had 10 penalty minutes, the Stars did, the last time these teams met at the American Airlines Center on October 17th. And that was kind of the game where we started to ask the coaching staff and ask the players, hey, you guys seem to be racking up quite a bit of penalties. Is that going to be an issue, or is that something that's going to be nipped in the bud? And of course, the answer was, it shouldn't be too big of an issue. We're playing with fire, and it has on and off again been an issue for this team. And so can the Stars be above some of the, dumb penalties and dumb physicality plays that could cost them and put them on the penalty kill way too often? Or will, they take the bait that I imagine the Winnipeg Jets are going to try and feed them and find themselves in disadvantageous situations? That's going to be something to keep an eye on, because as much as the Winnipeg Jets want to get a win for their coach against the former team, the Stars want to come out and win this game. It's a division rival. You always want to win division games, especially winning as the road team just feels incredible, sending the opposing teams, home fans, home sad. But also, you have to imagine the Stars want to come out and beat their old coach and prove and, tear down any speculation that they're not doing well without him, because the Stars are doing just fine with their new coach and their new system that is in place. And so both teams desperately wanting to win for tons of reasons: pride, top rank in the division. Lots on the line in this game, even though it is only early November. Still plenty of season left. It's fun to have a game like this where you're battling for the top spot in your division, a division that is likely going to continue to get more and more competitive. The Avalanche starting to kind of hit their stride, the Wild starting to get back to doing Minnesota Wild things, and then you have the St. Louis Blues, who are currently 8th in the division below teams like the Coyotes and the Blackhawks. It is truly a wild world that we live in, but you're not going to hear any complaints from me with the Blues losing 7 games in a row. I personally think that is a beautiful thing. But the Stars don't have to worry about that right now. They just have to worry about holding on to that top spot and winning this game. And this game is absolutely 100% winnable, but also gives off some vibes of some trap game. The Stars have been off for a few days, not having played since Saturday. The Jets also fall into that category as well. But the Stars also hopefully aren't looking ahead too much to the fact that they are going to have 2 days off again after this matchup, because they don't play again until Friday. I don't think that will be an issue, but I know likely getting towards the end of the road trip, you start to look ahead and say, we have 2 days at home with, I imagine, some practices and film and things like that, but it's 2 days off where you're not having to play a game. And so hopefully the team not too distracted by that fact, and also not distracted by the fact that even though the Jets are off to a good start, I think the Stars are a better team. I think the Jets are inferior in maybe every way in this game except goaltending. If Jake Ottinger was in net, I would say it's pretty even, but I think Hellebuck is a better goalie than Wedgewood, although I do think Wedgewood is going to do well in this game and give the Stars a chance to win. It's just a question of, can the offense explode and score 4 or 5 goals and limit the number of opportunities that the Jets get? It's going to be a fun game. I personally can't wait to see this one play out, and I desperately hope the Stars get the win and we send the Jets home with their tails between their legs, proving that the Stars truly do belong as the number 1 team in the Central Division. But that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Stars. Thank you again for making us your first listen of the day. Remember to follow us on your favorite podcasting platform. You can subscribe to our show on YouTube. We are free and available no matter where or how you choose to listen. You can follow us on social media at Locked On Stars on both Instagram and Twitter, as well as my personal Twitter account at Dane_Lewis. Be sure to tune in tomorrow as we will be reviewing and recapping this game and talking about, hopefully, a Dallas Stars win, talking about what went right, what can be improved upon, and covering the biggest storylines from the game in an in-depth 22 to 30-minute podcast episode. But I hope you guys enjoyed today's show, enjoy the game tonight, and we'll see you back here tomorrow.